All right, good morning, personal finance students. It is Wednesday, April 14th, and this is your e-learning lesson for today. So what we're going to do today is, yesterday we learned about mutual funds, just specifically how to read a prospectus. Remember, the prospectus is the big detailed report about a mutual fund, all the details that is going on with it, rates of return, who's the portfolio manager, all of those things. Today, what I'd like you guys to do is I want to walk you guys through real mutual funds, because the one yesterday was just a fake little assignment. Okay, it wasn't a real mutual fund. It was just an activity. Okay, so I want you to see real stuff today. So that being said, what I'm going to ask you guys to do is follow along with me today, not just like on my video. I mean, you actually do this stuff too with me, so you can see what I'm talking about. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is, I'm going to share my screen with you guys, is I'm going to ask you guys to go to morningstar.com. Okay, so everybody go to morningstar.com. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do first, this will take 2-3 minutes, is up here on morningstar.com. I want you to sign up for a free account. Okay, now when you guys click sign up, like I'm about to click sign up, enter your information, first name, last name, email address. Do not use your Lincoln Way email. Okay, use a different one. Reason being, I think that they might email you a confirmation that you're signing up for an account, so you have to click a link that they're going to send you to confirm your account. And Lincoln Way blocks all exterior emails from coming in if it doesn't have a lw210.org handle on the back end. So use a different email address besides your Lincoln Way one. Make up a password. No, you're not a financial professional. Don't sign up for these little emails right here unless you really want them, and then you will have to click a check mark here that I've read, blah, 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 blah. Go ahead and click create account. Okay. Now, you might need to verify via your email that you signed up for before you can log in and use your account. At that point, you might want to give me just a quick pause on this video and resume when you are ready to log into morningstar.com. So when I start talking again, I'm going to assume that you are in morningstar.com and you have your account all set up, and it's just a free little account. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and sign in on mine. Okay, so once you guys get in, you'll be on the home screen like this. The first thing that I want to do is I want to walk you through a real mutual fund, kind of like we did yesterday. So in the upper left corner up here where it says search quotes and sites, this is where you might enter a ticker symbol. So what I want you guys to enter on Morningstar is capital V, capital F, capital I, capital A, capital X. V, F, I, A, X. And go ahead and hit enter. Okay. Now this is there's 10,000 mutual funds out there, more. This is just one mutual fund. It's a very basic, very simple one. This is called a Vanguard S&P 500 index fund. Now, anytime you hear the word index means it buys everything. Okay. Anytime you hear the word index means it buys everything. So if you've ever been stuck in the car with mom and dad and they have the news on, or you're watching the news and the market report comes on and the guy on the radio said the Dow was up 3 points, the S&P is up 2. What the heck does that mean? Well, first off, the Dow stands for Dow Jones Industrial Average. That is a statistic that takes a look at the 30 largest companies that are publicly traded in the United States of America. So it takes the top 30 companies in America and it takes a look overall how they are doing or how they did on the stock market that day. And then it uses a little algorithm and kind of weights them all, and it gives you a statistic kicked out that says, hey, overall these 30 companies were up 3 points. Or, man, it was a rough day on Wall Street, the Dow was down 50 points. What that means is the Dow Jones Industrial Average is the 30 largest companies in America. It's how did those 30 large companies do on the stock market today? And just looking at the 30 big boys in the stock market gives you a little bit of a pulse on what the stock market did overall as a whole. So if you see an index fund that says it's a Dow index fund, a Dow Jones Industrial Average index fund, that means it's bought every company that's calculated in the Dow. This one we're looking at right here is an S&P 500 index fund. The best statistical representation of what the stock market did on a day-to-day basis is called the S&P. So if you hear the S&P was up 30 points, the S&P was down 100 points. S&P stands for Standard & Poor's 500. Now what this one does, this takes a look at the 500 the biggest traded companies in the United States of America. It takes a look at the Amazons and Googles and Johnson & Johnsons. It takes a look at all 500, and then they put together an algorithm that shows overall how those 500 companies did on the stock market today. The S&P 500, by all statistical measures, is the best pulse on what the stock market is doing, right now or at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. So the S&P gives the best snapshot of what's going on. So in a mutual fund like we're looking at right here, where it's a 500 index, it's an S&P 500 index fund. This mutual fund buys stock in all of the 500 largest companies in the United States of America. So this mutual fund right here basically does what the stock market does. It moves in lockstep. Remember we learned that word yesterday? Market goes up, a mutual fund like this would go up just the same. Market goes down, a mutual fund like this will go down the same. Now, a couple things I want to take a look at, okay? If you're looking at this screen right now, or if you're looking on your computer, some of those things that we talked about on the prospectus to know if this is a good mutual fund, a bad mutual fund. Let's talk first about rate of return. So when you have VFIAX pulled up, what you're going to want to do is there's these different tabs over here. The quote is the quick snapshot of a little bit of everything, okay? If I scroll down a little bit, you can see some charts and you can see some graphs and things like that, okay? It's a snapshot. Now I want to look a little bit deeper like we did on our assignment yesterday. The first thing that I look at when I'm looking at a mutual fund is performance. Remember, how much money can I make? So let's click that tab, performance, okay? When you click the performance tab, you take a look at this mutual fund. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. This chart, this line graph shows hypothetical growth of a $10,000 investment into this mutual fund invested one time, okay? And how this $10,000 would grow over 10 years, basically. So if you invested in this mutual fund $10,000, what this would show you is at the end of 10 years, if you don't add anything to it, it would have grown to about $30,000, okay? That's what that line graph means right there. What I usually look at is, I don't really pay too much attention to that. I come on down to here, okay? What I'm looking for is, I'm looking for my rate of returns, right where my mouse is clicking. See where it says this fund? And you can go year by year by year. So in 2019, this mutual fund averaged 31% rate of return. If you look at 2018, it lost 4%. If you look at 2017, it made almost 22% rate of return. Now, when we run our statistical calculations and we say, hey, anything in double digits is pretty good, we're looking for 12% rate of return, take a look at this. You're going to have years where you do extremely well. 31% is amazing. But then look at the year before that. You lost 4%. If you take a look at just those two years, I mean, you got 31, 32, and you got -4. What we're looking at is over a period of time, and you average those out, there's where you get your 12% rate of return that we're kind of looking for. So 2017, 21% rate of return. 2016, you're looking at 11%, almost 12% rate of return. 2015, 1% rate of return, so on and so forth, okay? That being said, what we want to look at next is I can take a look down here. Now this number trailing returns is a little bit different, but we can look at the 5-year rate of return. We can look at the 10-year rate of return. We can look at the 15-year rate of return, how it's performed over 15 years or since inception, like we've talked about. Now, that's one thing I look at. It's probably the first thing is how's this mutual fund performed, okay? And what I also like to look over here is down here where it says percentile rank, and it says like over the past 1 year, this is ranked in the top 26%. Over the past 3 years, this is ranked in the top 19% of mutual funds. That means if I'm looking at this column right here, let's go to the 5-year rate of return, all the way down here, number of funds in the category just like this, there's over 1,000 mutual funds that fit this category. Remember we said mid cap, small cap, large cap? Well, there's over 1,000 in this category, and this ranked in the top 11% of those 1,000 mutual funds based off of performance. So I like to also look at what percentile this mutual fund rakes in at. Another thing that I'm going to look at is I'm going to take a look at, click on the People tab. Now, the People tab, remember yesterday's assignment, we talked about a dude named Andrew Sleeman, and it says 4 years, okay? Now, I click on the People tab. This is the people that run the show. And I scroll down a little bit on this, and I got a dude named Donald M. Butler, okay? And I got another person named Michelle Louie. Doesn't mean much to me. It says there's 2 managers on this portfolio, and the longest tenure on this portfolio is 4 years, okay? I don't really can see too much here that's very impressive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Donald Butler's name, and I'll get a little bio of Donald Butler. Here we go. This is what we need to know when we're talking about portfolio manager. When I said yesterday, get a little bit more information. Donald Butler has been 4 years on this fund, but he's been in this industry for over 2 decades, 22 years in the business. During his tenure on this mutual fund, it's averaged 9.75% rate of return. Index performance means other mutual funds in the same category, how they perform. This will tell you things like Donald Butler has been with Vanguard since 1992. He's managed investment portfolios since 1997. Got his degree from Shippensburg University, wherever the heck that is from. And if you want to know more, you can kind of learn more about those people. Let's click on Michelle and see what's going on with Michelle. Michelle's been in the industry for 4 years. She's a rookie. Okay, that's a little troubling for me. She got her MBA from Georgia Institute of Technology. She got her degree from American University. So you can kind of see, ooh, not very impressive right there on that one, okay? So some other things that we might want to look at is, let's take a look at, I'm gonna click next on portfolio. Now, these are some other things that you want to look at when you're looking at a mutual fund. What makes up the portfolio? And if you take a look here, when you click on portfolio, here's how you read some of this stuff. 98% of the things that we're invested in, if you buy into this mutual fund, are U.S. companies, okay? Equity in U.S. companies. So they're buying stock in U.S. companies. And that should make sense. It's the S&P 500. It's usually American companies on this. So 98% of our money is in US companies. Now we can learn a little bit more by scrolling down. If I scroll down a little bit to down here, remember yesterday on the assignment, right here where it says top 10 holdings, I said, hey, take a look at some of these companies and what's going on. Here are the top 10 holdings. Oops, hold on, I gotta pause this. This could be Dave Ramsey. Hello. I'm doing well. How are you? Okay. That would absolutely still work. Yeah, no problem on that. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Enjoy your day. Bye. Bye. All right, that was Dave Ramsey's office. Seriously. So if you guys didn't hear, I will be on the Dave Ramsey show next Monday, April 20th, approximately 1:15 now. They just changed the time on me. Sorry about that. So back to what I was talking about. That was crazy. Back to what I was talking about is take a look right here at the top 10 companies. So if you take a look, 5% of all the money in this mutual fund gets invested in Microsoft stock. Then 4.64% gets invested into Apple, and then 3.19% gets invested into Amazon, and then Facebook, and Alphabet Incorporated. That is Google, by the way. Alphabet company is called Google. Berkshire Hathaway, that's Warren Buffett's investment company. Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan, Visa. You can kind of see the list right there. Now, I just kind of like to look at that, but one of the other things that I'll kind of look at is this right here. This is where it might help you or make a buying decision, good or bad. See right here where it says sectors? This tells you what percentage of your money that goes into the mutual fund is invested in different sectors. So if you take a look right here, 21% of the money put into our mutual fund from you and from me and whoever's in the club in this mutual fund, if you were to buy in, 21% of our money invest in companies that are in the tech industry. Now, here's how I would use this information, and it's all a personal thing. Let's just use the tech thing, for example. Let's say that you did not believe in technology. You didn't believe that you think there was going to be a tech bubble that was going to burst, and you thought technology is going to stop growing or whatever, for whatever reason. I'm just throwing tech out there as an example. And so much of the money in this mutual fund is invested in the tech industry. Then maybe that's a red flag for you. And maybe you go, all right, I kind of like the portfolio manager. I like the rate of return, blah, blah, blah. But man, this is so heavy in the tech industry. I don't want a lot of my money invested in the tech industry because I don't think it's going to be a thing. Or green energy, or medical technology, or whatever the sector is, or the real estate sector, or you can take a look at any of these. And if they're heavy in any areas that you don't really believe in, or they invest in companies that you don't really want to put your money into because maybe it's a personal belief that I don't like Microsoft, they're greedy, they're a monopoly, I don't want to give them any more money, then find another mutual fund out there that has a company or companies that you like, or it has money allocated in sectors that are more agreeable with your personal preferences. Do you kind of see what I'm getting at here? Is if you're not the green energy kind of person, and the mutual fund you're looking at is invested in green energy companies, that mutual fund is not for you. Go find another one. There's over 10,000 of them to look at, okay? So that's another thing that I'll take a look at besides rate of return, portfolio manager. What companies are we investing in? What sectors are we investing in? And then maybe besides, go ahead and click quote, maybe besides rate of return and portfolio manager, fees. Let's go back to the quote page, okay? Fees. I'm gonna take a look right here. And expense ratio. Remember that was one of the things we looked at yesterday, expense ratio. 0.040, okay, very, very low. Remember yesterday's was like 2.5%. This is like less than half of 1%. And it'll tell you right there, the fee level is low. That's good. We don't want to give away our money if we don't have to. So the fee structure is pretty low on that. And then the other thing I told you to look at yesterday, right here, load, okay? The load says none. There's no sales commission. So every time you buy this, nobody's touching your money. No load is a beautiful thing, or a very low load on there is a nice thing when you're looking at mutual funds. Now, turnover percent, we're only caring about that right there when we're buying our mutual funds outside of a Roth IRA, 401k, 403b, or a traditional IRA. We're going to learn about those on Thursday, tomorrow, so don't worry about that too much. But only worry about turnover rate if you're just buying this as an investment outside of a retirement account. Then you want to keep the turnover rate low, under 5%. Because if it's not buying mutual funds in a retirement account, you pay taxes on your growth. And one of the ways you pay taxes is you pay capital gains taxes, which is based off that turnover rate, okay? So we only look at the turnover rate if we're buying outside of a retirement account. Now, here's what I want you guys to do. I'm going to go over a couple of my investments with you. These are actual mutual funds, the ones that I invest in. Okay. I follow the advice, Dave Ramsey's advice. 25% of my money is in large cap. 25% of my money is in mid cap. 25% of my money is in small cap. And 25% of my money used to be in international. About 2 years ago, I sold it. So I'm 33, 33, 33. In this search box up here, go and type PSGAX. 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 Okay? And hit enter. Now, PSGAX, and I have to click on this one right here, Virtus KR Small Cap Growth. This is my small cap mutual fund, and there might be 1,000 small cap mutual funds to look through. Okay, all you got to do is find one that you like, that you can jump in. So let's take a look at this. Now, I'm not saying I have the best mutual funds on the planet. I'm some smarty pants know-it-all, everything like that. But I do know what I'm doing, and I do have some pretty good mutual funds. Now, you might not be able to buy into these right away. You might have to start at a basic one, like I just showed you. And as you start accumulating a little wealth, then maybe you can buy into some better ones. Well, let's take a look at this one. And so this is the small cap. This is the aggressive growth. This is the riskiest of the ones that we are recommending to be in your portfolio. And if you take a look right here, it's got 5-star rating on this Morningstar website. If you take a look, first and foremost, let's take a look at performance. So I'm going to click on performance. And this has ups and downs, and the ups are really high and the downs are really low. It's the most volatile. So if you take a look here, 2019, this mutual fund made 40% rate of return. 2018, 9%. 2017, 37%. 2016, 24%. 2015, 1%, tough year. 2014, 5%, 2013, 37%, so on and so forth. So the rate of returns are very strong. Let me scroll down here, and let's take a look at these returns over here. Remember that we're telling you should not invest in a mutual fund that doesn't have a track record of at least 5 years or more of double-digit rate of return. So let's take a look at this. Right here, here's a 5-year rate of return percentage. Over the last 5 years, this mutual fund has made 16.4% rate of return, okay? Making it in the top 1% of all small cap mutual funds. This one's a killer, guys. This one performs very, very well. Take a look at the 10-year rate of return, 16.2%, okay? We run our calculations off of 12. This one's average over the last decade. It's averaged 16% rate of return, okay? In the top 1% of all mutual funds in that small cap category. It has killed it. And then since this became a mutual fund, it's averaged about 11% rate of return, okay? Remember, we don't care about the 1 month, 3 month, or even the 1 year, or even the 3-year rate of return. We're investing for long-term rate of return performance. If I click on the people right here, here's our portfolio managers that run this. We've got Todd Bailey. If I click on Todd Bailey, dude's been on this mutual fund for 12 years, and he's been in the investment industry for almost 2 decades, 19 years. Here's all the stats about Todd Bailey, portfolio manager, senior research analyst. He got his bachelor's from Northern Arizona University and his MBA from Southern California, USC, okay? When he's been on this mutual fund, he's averaged a 13% rate of return. He's done very, very well. There's another guy, John Christensen, not Lincoln Way East, John Christensen, from a couple years ago. Some of you guys might remember. He's been in this mutual fund for 11 years, 23 years in the game. All the stats are really good about John and Todd, who are running the show. Some other things that we might take a look at is the expense ratio. Remember how much it costs to invest on this? We want to take a look. Now, here's the expense ratio. If I click on quote, you guys can follow me, 1.4%. It's a little high, okay? But I'm okay, I'm comfortable personally. Now, you may be a little different. I'm comfortable paying a little higher expense ratio if the mutual fund is performing well. You get what you pay for sometimes. So these guys are killing it. I'm happy to give them 1.37% if they're doing a darn good job, which they are. Check out the load right here. That's a high load fee. That's the sales commission, meaning every time you buy $1,000 worth, they're keeping about 60 bucks, almost 6%. That's a high load fee. With my investment company that I buy my investments through, Vanguard has a deal worked out that Vanguard customers have zero load fee on this mutual fund. So I personally don't pay that. Other people that invest do. I pay zero on that, which is kind of cool. So I'm not turned off by the high expense ratio or the load fee. Those are things that you need to look at as well. So that's my small cap mutual fund. Let's go to one of my other ones. In this search box up here, go PRDMX, okay? PRDMX and hit enter, okay? This one's called the T. Rowe Price Diversified Mid Cap Group. This is my mid cap mutual fund. Remember, we're saying 25% of your money should go large cap, mid cap, small cap, and international. This is my mid cap mutual fund, okay? So let's take a look at performance. If I click on performance and I just take a look at a little snapshot here, if I take a look at in 2019, it's averaged 38% rate of return, okay? In 2018, -3, ouch. 2017, 25%. 2016, 7%. If we look at some of these numbers down here, over the last 5 years, it's averaged 7%. That's not really encouraging, okay? But I'm gonna look deeper than 5 years. Over the last decade, it's averaged 11% rate of return. That's pretty good, okay? And then if I look over here at the 15-year rate of return, it's averaged 9% over the last 15 years. Now that's not great. In fact, that's a little bit, that's less than what we're looking for. But you have to go and look a little bit deeper because this number does not tell it all. Let me ask you guys, and you guys answer at home. Does anybody know why the 10-year rate of return is pretty good, but the 15-year rate of return takes such a dip down to single digits? What big economic milestone might have taken place in the last 15 years? The housing market collapse of 2008 that led to the greatest economic recession we've seen since the Great Depression, okay? So if you gotta look a little bit deeper than the numbers sometimes and also know, well, why is that so low? Oh, could it be because our economy was collapsing basically? In 2008, 2009, unemployment skyrocketing, people getting kicked out of their houses, the stock market tanked. Well, that has an effect on everything, including this mutual fund. So yeah, looking at it and going, oh, 9%, that's not really good. Well, what the heck happened maybe that influenced, that was outside of these fund managers' control? Everybody sucked over the last 15 years, basically. All of them, took a big hit because it was such a big economic time to go through as Americans. So just looking also doesn't tell. Looking at a number going, oh, 9%. Also, is there something going on that you might not be thinking about? That's a good way to look at that, okay? Some of the other things, we can look at the people. Once again, I like to look at the people, Donald Peters and Donald Easley, and you can kind of look at their bios and snapshots, and the dude's been in for 34 years in the game, okay? Savvy veteran. You can take a look, we'll go back to quote, take a look at expense ratios and load fees, all really good. Below average expense ratios, no load. I like that, okay? And then the last one I'll share with you is in the search box up here, type in FBGRX. FBGRX. And I'm going to click here, Fidelity Blue Chip Growth. This one right here is my large cap mutual fund. This is the calmest. This is the most steady mutual fund. Remember the blue chip, Dave said in the notes last week, the blue chip's the most expensive chip on the poker table. This is a very boring mutual fund. It's the sturdiest, the most stable. Market goes up, it'll go up a little bit. Market goes down, it'll go down a little bit. Okay, it's a blue chip fund. It is just very steady, and you want that stability in your investment portfolio. So 33% of my money is here. If we take a look at performance, some of the things that you want to look at a mutual fund is, if I scroll down, you can see last year it made 33%, the year before that 1%, 2017 36%, 2016 1%, a lot of highs and lows, okay? But if you take a look at the 5-year rate of return, it's average double digits, 11.3%. The 10-year rate of return, almost 14%. The 15-year rate of return, even including the housing market collapse of 2008, 10.7%. That's pretty darn good considering the housing market collapse. And then taking a look, this is performed in the top 9% of all large cap mutual funds, the top 15% of all large cap mutual funds. And I also like to look at the star ratings up there. 4 or 5 stars is obviously really good, okay? So now that we've looked at 4 different mutual funds on Morningstar, here's your assignments, okay? What I've included today attached is a worksheet that looks just like this. It's called Individual Fund Tracker. And what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm going to have you find 4 mutual funds that if you had some money, you might maybe invest in. Okay, I want you to look at rate of return, portfolio manager, expense ratio. One of the other things I didn't even talk about is we didn't even talk about minimum investments. Okay, take a look at my screen right now. This one I'm showing you, there's usually that's an error if it says 0, but it might say 500, it might say 10,000, it might say 250. We got to look and make sure that you have enough money to actually invest in it for the first time. So that's another thing that you want to look at. This worksheet that I've attached called Individual Fund Tracker, you're going to look up and find 1 large cap, 1 small cap, 1 mid cap, and 1 international mutual fund. Okay, all I want you to log on this sheet is the name of the fund, the ticker symbol, the trading price, and give me the 3, 5, and 10-year rate of returns as well as the minimum investment. You guys can skip this whole middle column that says portfolio composition. Don't worry about that. You can skip this whole column that says category. There's a whole bunch of extra rows there for whatever reason. Don't worry about that. The ticker symbol you can write next to the name of the fund. You can not worry about that column. All I need you to do is give me the name of the mutual fund that you found. Give me the ticker symbol. Tell me the price as you found it, how much it was trading for. Tell me the rate of returns it's averaged over those time periods right there. And then tell me the minimum investment. And this will kind of get your feet wet in knowing how to look for mutual funds. Now, in order to find these mutual funds, I'm going to show you how to click through on Morningstar. Okay, so you're going to have to kind of follow my clicks. All right, everybody go back to the homepage of Morningstar.com. You're going to click this little research arrow next to research and click the little arrow, and you're going to select mutual funds. Now, when you select mutual funds under the research tab, when the next page pops up that I'm looking at, you're going to scroll down here to this tools section, and you're going to click Fund Quick Rank. Go ahead and click it. Now it's going to compile over 29,000 funds that you can look through. Okay. Now what I want you to do is, the first thing is, if you're looking for large cap, you're going to click here. And you're going to scroll down until you see large growth. That is large cap. We're looking at growth mutual funds, not large blend, not large value, growth mutual funds. And you're going to click large growth if you're looking for a large cap. It's going to then sort by this right here. We will click performance. Okay, so once you check large growth and then sort by performance, I like to sort and then click this right here, 10-year rate of return percentage. Okay, I want to sort these by mutual funds that have done the best over the last decade. Okay, so then what you're going to do is, here's the list. There are, geez, 1,295 of them. Start clicking on them and click on the first one if you want. And take a look and go, all right, let me check out this mutual fund and see if this is something that if I had some money today, maybe can I invest in? Here's the Morgan Stanley Insight Fund. I'm out already, and you're probably out too. Why? Look right there. Minimum initial investment of $5 million. I'm out. I don't have $5 million. Maybe you do. Then keep reading on. But if I were you, I would freak out a little bit and go on to the next one because I can't do that one. Okay? And a lot of you guys probably can't either. Once you find one that's pretty obtainable, log it on that sheet. And then you're going to go to mid-cap. Do your little checklist and find mid-growth. Mid-cap growth. We will click search. We're going to sort by performance. Click 10-year rate of return performance. Oops, I clicked it too many times. 10-year return performance. And here's one right at the top. And you can start there and start clicking through and seeing if there's any mutual funds that you could possibly invest in for a mid-cap mutual fund. And then finally, or second to last, small cap. So we're going to scroll through and we're going to look for small growth. So small growth mutual fund. Click search. It's going to compile the list of 619 possible small cap mutual funds you can look through, and it looks like they're sorted by the 10-year rate of return. And look and see what's at the top. Ding, 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 the one that I showed you that I'm invested in. So look through those and see if there's any that catch your eye that if you had some money you could possibly invest in. Now, I did share my 3 mutual funds that I invest in. Feel free to go ahead and write those down for future reference. Share them with your parents, whatever. But those are 3 very good, well-performing mutual funds that you couldn't really go wrong with. They're very, very strong performers. And so I've literally just shared what I've got my retirement accounts, what I've got my money invested in, those 3 mutual funds that we just went over: PRDMX, PSGAX, and FBGRX are the 3 ticker symbols: my large cap, my mid cap, my small cap. What I want you guys to do is go search, play on Morningstar, find a large cap, mid cap, small cap, and maybe an international. Let's scroll through and find an international, one of those international ones. Doesn't matter which one you, where's international? Maybe let's do, for your international, let's do a world large stock one all the way at the bottom. Okay, and look through those and find 4 mutual funds based off the things that I talked about. Log them on that sheet, turn them into the Skyward Learning Center. The due date for that assignment will be Thursday, the 16th by 9 a.m. Okay, Thursday the 16th by 9 a.m. Send me your assignment for looking up 4 mutual funds. All right, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, see ya.